So today we're gonna debug the code that we're given. So I have already prepared the debug tasks. I copied and pasted them from this website. So the first one, firstly I will do a visual debugging for this problem. As you can see, we have the class debug task 1, then we have the entry point, public static void main, then we have an array of integers with the values 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, so we have 5 elements in total, and then we have a for loop starting from 0 up to the length of the array. So the length of this array is 5, so from 0 to 5, including 5 because we have the equal sign, and the step is 1. So we will be printing out indices from 0 to 5 includingly, and I have already spotted the error here because we have only 5 elements. This should throw an exception, array index out of bounds. So let's run this. As you can see, it printed all the values, and then we got array index out of bounds exception. So what I will do is that I will go and write an if statement. So if I is equal to 5, then we'll have some kind of variable. So I want to come to this point when I debug, so to save time. So as you can see, we're expecting to have an exception. So console printed out all the 5 values. Now we're about to step into the next line, which is gonna cause an exception. So what I will do is that I can see the values of I. As you can see, I is 5 now, and this condition is true. Oops. 5, this condition is true, and we have the next step. But as you can see, we have already finished the array, we finished printing out the elements. So if we step inside, we get an exception. As you can see, we get invalid array range. So in order to fix this, we need to remove the equal sign. Then this condition should become false. Now if we rerun this, let me remove this one. can see, we fixed the error. Now let's move to the next task. Debug task 2. So we have here the entry point, as you can see, starts from the 4th line. Then we have declared the variable sum and initialized it using the method calculateSum and passed the argument 5. So this line should redirect us to this method. So it's a static method. And then we go and we pass the 5, so n is 5. Then we have sum equal to 0, and we start a for loop from 1 up to 5 including, and the step is minus minus. Then we have sum plus equal to I, and we are trying to get the sum. I have already spotted the error, but for the sake of practice, let's debug this example. Alright, so we'll start debugging. So in the beginning the sum is 0, n is 5, I is 1. Alright, then we go inside. Sum is 1, I is 1. Now I will become 0 because we decrement the value of I, which is a problem. Now it's going to become negative, as you can see. The value of I should increase, not decrease, so we should put the plus plus sign to get the increment. Alright, let me try to run this code. Now we should get a proper sum. So the sum is 15, 1 plus 2, 3, 3 plus 3, 6, 6 plus 4, 10, and plus 5, 15. Alright. Let's move to the next one. Debug task 3. So as you can see, we have the entry point here. Then we have initialized and declared the variable I and set it equal to 1. Then we have a while loop, and the condition is while I is less than or equal to 5. We're gonna print out this message. Looks like it's an infinite loop because we don't have a step here. We don't have, yes, it's an infinite loop. So to avoid this, we need this condition to become false at some point, and to do that we need to put I++. Let's try it one more time. So as you can see, we fixed the problem. Let's move to the next one. We have an entry point here, then we print out the message where we use the method isPalindrome, and the argument is null. So then this line redirects us to this method, which is static, and it accepts a parameter of type string. Then it goes and reverses the string using string builder, reverse and to string. Then it returns then it compares the string that we passed with a equals method and the reversed one that it reversed. basically palindrome is the reversed string. So let's try to run this and see what result we got. It says null pointer exception, so exception in thread. Cannot invoke length because string is null. So the problem is straightforward. We can even go to the line that caused this error. So the line 5 and 8, but actually it's a line 5 because we pass the null string. String cannot be null. So we need to either change it to something else or leave an empty string. Let's say throws null pointer exception. String cannot be null string cannot be reversed. Like this. So what we can do instead is we can make this a valid string, and if we run this, then it says false. So the null itself is not a palindrome. Alright, let's move to next task. So we have two classes here. Let's start from entry point. In the entry point we have declared an instance of class person, and we used the constructor to pass the values. So here we have the class person that has two private fields, and you can see it's pretty straightforward that the return type of the name is string. For the name it's correct, for the age it's integer. Then we have public person, this is a constructor, and we have the getters for the name and age. Alright, this seems fine to me. What is the problem then? We have a method update age, which is a static method, which goes to person. Let's try to run this and see the problem. So the program executes successfully, but the result is not correct. As you can see, in the beginning Alice is with the age 25, then we call the update age, which goes to this method, and what it does, it assigns a new value to the person by creating a new this person is most likely a local variable. Yes, so let's try to debug this problem. So the problem is in this line and this line. Let's try to debug. So in the beginning we can see one thread is running. In the console we have nothing printed. Then we step inside. We have our person with the name Alice and age 25. Then what do we have? This person is our Alice. Then we create a new person. So this person, alright, this is the same person with the address 863, and as you can see the age should be 26. But the return type of this method is void. Let's try to step inside. So the age now is 26, but this is a different person. Look at this. It has the address 866. No, it's the same address. Let's try to run this. It became 863, but before it was 866. So these are the different memory addresses, and the changes made to the person, they are not saved. So as you can see, it's still 25. Alice is still 25. But let's go and debug this one more time. So as you can see, now the address is 863. Then when we go inside, the address changes. So this is a different person. This is not Alice, because we use the keyword new and call the constructor. So whenever we call the constructor, we create an instance of that class. So as you can see, then it became 863. So that is the problem, and we need to fix that. Let's try to fix this problem. Instead of using a static method, we can create a setter here. So I would go with setter. We're incrementing the age, so we should update the age. How we can do this? Yes, again we can use setter inside that method. So as you can see, IDEA also helps us what it says. So again, to update the age, we need the setter, public void set age. We should accept the new age, or let's say age, then use this age is equal to age. Alright. And instead of this method, what we can do, we need to get rid of this method at all, and this method. So we're going to use set age, person dot set age, and we wanted to set age to 26. Alright, now we can run this and see the result. Now the result is correct, 26. Let's move to next task. Task 6. So we have our entry point. Then we have the method countdown, which is a static method. When we go to static method countdown, we have the n equal to 5, and we print out the n and decrement the countdown. We call it again. So this is a recursive method. Let's try to run this. It leads to Stack Overflow, most likely. Buffer output stream. Yes, Stack Overflow error. This is a serious error, and it's because we have called the recursive function within the function. Instead of calling it again, what we could do, we could have a while loop instead of this. Let's try to debug. So in the beginning we have the arguments 0, let's step inside. We have n equals to 5. So we have n equals to 5. And then we step over n equals to 4, but what's going on in the console? It prints out 5, 4, 3. One more time. 2. We have one thread running. One more. Now it's 1. So it does not have the breakpoint. The problem the problem with the recursive functions is that we should have the condition that stops the function. So, but this function, it does not have, as you can see, n becomes -1 and still it prints. It goes on and on, -3, -4, -5, 6, 7, 8, and until this stack overflow occurs. So what we can do instead, we need to check in the beginning. So if n is equal to 0, then we'll say break, or not even break, but what we can do, yes, we'll say break, and we need to put all of this inside the while loop. Like this. Let's see what we got. Still we got the infinite loop. What can we do in this case? We need to have a breakpoint, but we cannot use break with the conditional if statements. So instead, what we can do, try to run this. In this case, you can see it works. How did we fix this? So n is 5, n is decrement and call back, and we go again in 3, 2, 1, then n becomes 0, and we have all the numbers printed. Then what do? We call return. Then comes 1, and it returns, and the program finishes. Yes. So that's what I was talking about. We needed to have the condition that stops the recursive function from executing infinitely. Alright, let's move to the next task. So here we have the multi-threaded program. In the beginning we have the private static field balance with a return type integer that has the initial value 100. Then we have our entry point. Then we have two threads that perform an withdraw operation using the lambda expression. And the problem here, I think, is a synchronization error. Let's try to run this. So it says the new balance is 50, which is not correct. static void withdraw. So if balance is greater than or equal to amount, only then we can withdraw the money. So let's try to debug this problem. Let's go and debug. So what do we have? We have thread 1, thread 2. As you remember, threads, they are not executed until we call the start method. So now we call the start method. Thread started running. We started the second thread. So as you can see, we have the main thread, thread 0 and thread 1 with different addresses. So let's go to the balance 40. So the problem is that they're trying to withdraw money 60 and 50, but we have only 100. So let's try to print out some message. We'll say else insufficient balance. Sufficient sufficient. Insufficient balance. And let's print out the balance. Let's try to run this one more time. Now it says -10, but the balance cannot be negative. So that's the problem with the race condition. Alright, to fix this, we need to either have this method synchronized. So synchronized. Now if we try to run this, new balance 40, so the first thread withdraw the money. Then when the second thread attempted to withdraw 50 from the total balance, it first checked the balance, it was insufficient, then it came to else block and this message was printed. Balance is equal to 40. Insufficient balance. Alright, so that's how we can solve this problem. We can try one more time. Now it withdraw 50 and it couldn't withdraw 60 because balance cannot be negative. Let's move to next task. Task number 8. We have the entry point and we have two double variables A and B. So A has some arithmetic math operation, 0.1 times 3, then we have double B 0.3, and then we check if a and b is equal or not. Let's run this. It says they're not equal. Let's try to debug. So what is the problem? As you can see, 0.1 times 3 has a different value. And when we try to compare this 0.3 with this, of course they're not equal, it's false. Then we go to the not equal. Prints are not equal. Yes. So now we understand the problem. How can we fix this? How can we fix this? Probably we could round a somehow. A dot math round a. Can we do this? Math round a. Let's try to run this. Still not equal. Let's try to run this one more time. Still they're not equal. Let me debug this. Even after rounding we got the same value. Alright. What can we do instead? Let's remove this. Let's remove the whole expression. Let's say math dot absolute value a minus b should be, if a minus b is less than less than 0, then they're equal. Let's try to run this. Still not equal, okay. And the last one, we can use the epsilon and put this notation, and we can compare this with epsilon. We put the tolerance epsilon. Now let's try to run this. Now they're equal. This is because we have the condition tolerance. So it does not go past 9 zeros. So this 3, 6, 9. You can see if we go to 10 to the power minus 9, then they're equal. They are equal. Alright, let's move to the next task. Task 9. We have two strings. We have two strings, str1, str2, and we use new string to assign them to this string. And when we compare both two strings, they're not equal. Yes, they're not equal because of their memory addresses. Let's try to debug this. Debug. So we have two strings. Look at this. And they're both hello, but their memory addresses are not the same. You can see their value, they're different. No, the value is same. #0. Everything is identical, but they're not equal. This is because we use the keyword new, and whenever we use the keyword new, the Java will go and create a new string. But and also when we use the double equal instead of the method equals, it compares the references to the memory. So we want to compare by their value and not by the reference. So we should use equals instead. Instead of this, we need to use equals. So let's try to run this again. Now they're equal because we use the proper method that compares strings by their value and not by their reference. Let's move to the last task. So we have the entry point, then we have an array of, we have a list of strings where we create new array list, array as list with 3 names. Then we enter a for loop and go over the names, and if the name starts with letter A, we want to remove that name. Let's see what's the problem. And the problem is the concurrent modification exception at this point. So we have concurrent modification exception. How can we fix this? So for this specific case, instead of using the for loop, it would be better if we used the iterator. So let's rewrite this program. Let's say while iterator, which we need to initialize. Iterator. Name names.iterator, and it should have a type string. Alright, now we can use iterator as next method. So while it has next, then we'll go and say if iterator dot next dot starts with the letter A, then we'll remove that iterator dot remove. Am I right? Let's see. In the end, we'll print out our list names. Yes. So this is how we fix this problem, by using iterator. IDEA says we could use remove if instead of the iterator. So this is a more advanced solution. We can keep that. I will copy this, but I will keep my old solution. Here we can have another one. Right, so this was the last task. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.